In the world of Fire Emblem Fates, every royal has their own loyal group of goons. They're retainers that would do all manner of things for their liege, out of respect and loyalty to them and their beliefs. And wouldn't you know, our lovely main lord has their own set of loyal retainers, Felicia and Jacob. Felicia's a fan favorite, being this young maid who always does her best despite her ineptitude at, well, everything. But hey, she's super cute and always ready to try again. And then there's Jacob, a guy who's not immediately likable and in fact is kind of a jerk. Yeah, in case you couldn't tell by now, I have a strong gravitation towards men who are terrible because therapy hasn't been invented yet, and Jacob is a strong member of that category, having a seemingly curt persona around everyone but Corrin, but he actually has a well-defined reason for both his love of Corrin and his rather blunt attitude otherwise. Now, the structure of this one is going to be less of a play-by-play of his actions in-game, and instead just look at his life chronologically. So let's start by diving into his childhood, learn from his Azura, Gunter, and Felicia supports. Jacob was born to an affluent Norian family, though he remarks that his parents were not exactly the most in-love couple. He grew up watching both of them have no love for each other, and sadly, even less love for their son. And, you know, since Fire Emblem can't fathom the concept of characters having parents, Jacob's parents abandoned him when he was a very young child, leaving him on the doorstep of the royal palace. He was then thrown from his loveless family into a forced job as a servant of the castle, where he could hope that he would find something akin to love and respect in his new home. But lo and behold, rather than finding happiness, Jacob found a whole lot of, the opposite of that. Turns out, being a butler is really fucking hard. Look at how well Felicia handles it, for example. And the young Jacob was not at all equipped to handle the responsibilities of that service. And, thanks to his incompetence, he just created more problems for the capable servants to fix, and so he found no love among his fellow workers. Yeah, rather than moving forward into a happy new chapter of his life, Jacob instead stumbled into a different but equally lonely kind of suffering. But then, when Jacob was at his most lonely and miserable, who else but the young prince or princess Corrin to show him love and attention? Since Corrin knew a thing or two about being a lonely and neglected child, they immediately empathized with Jacob and started to show him the love and kindness he had never felt in his life before that point. This action lit a fire under Jacob and gave him the desire to improve, to help pay back the kindness Corrin was giving him when no one else was there for him. And so, Jacob started to become the incredibly competent butler we see him as in the beginning of the game. However, kindness alone does not truly help a person become better at their job, and good thing he found the complete opposite of kindness in his instructor, Gunter. I have no idea how a war general of Nor knew so much about being a butler, but he knew far more than the young Jacob did, and he drilled his knowledge bit by bit into the boy. Gunter was strict and cold, but it was through that tough love that Jacob's skills as a butler hardened, and he went from a completely incompetent child to one of, if not the, most capable servants for the Norian royal family. And that's the reason for his loyalty and his skill, a combination of bad parenting, Corrin not being a prick, and Gunter being a prick. Jacob's role in the story is either fairly minor or completely non-existent depending the player's gender. If the player is female, Jacob will go with them throughout most of the game, and will stand by Corrin no matter what her decision is regarding what nation to side with. He's around for the early game, but story-wise he gets sidelined for whatever royal family Corrin goes with, but hey, he's there with her from the start. Now if the player is male, Felicia is the one who stands by him, and Jacob just sorta pops into existence at a completely random time with zero build-up whatsoever. Regardless of how and when he gets into your army, Jacob's personality is... what's the phrase I'm looking for? Let's go with delightfully devilish. Jacob doesn't go out of his way to cause problems for anyone, but he certainly isn't afraid to take jabs at people in precarious situations. He rides that fine line between being charming and being a prick, and in my opinion he rides it quite well. His jokes at his fellow comrades' expense are often very funny and witty, and help him stand out from the crowd of goody-goody two-shoes likable people while not making him completely mean-spirited. Let's just take out a few supports at random and see what I'm talking about here. His support with Selena starts with her spending an exuberant amount of money on a collection of big pots, for literally no other reason than that they were pretty, like she's some goddamn goblin from Magic the Gathering or something. Jacob remarks that she's just wasting her money, and Selena retorts that it's none of his goddamn business what she does with her money. It's a point that he has to concede, but then he asks her how she intends to carry back all the stuff she bought when she can barely lift it. She thinks he's offering to carry it for her, and starts to apologize for thinking he was a jerk, and in response Jacob gives one of my favorite lines. No need to thank me. You estimated me perfectly. I had no intention of helping you. After she has to painstakingly carry back all of the pots herself, taking her entire day to do so, she tries to blame Jacob for her misery even though he literally had nothing to do with the fact that she bought useless shit she couldn't carry. Jacob tries to sweet-talk her out of her anger in another really humorous exchange. Your feats on the battlefield are a sight to behold. Your speed, your dexterity, your strength, all are legendary within the ranks. That's why I believed you didn't need my help the other day. I knew you had the strength in you to carry them all on your own. Well, I guess... Wait, no, that's crap. You just left because you're a lazy, inconsiderate dastard. Saw right through me, didn't you? I was so close. His support with Setsuna has a similar feel of Jacob finds someone in a hole they dug for themselves and doesn't dig them out, but this time the hole is a bit more of a literal hole. Setsuna has clumsily fallen into a trap hole again because, that's her endearing character trait, I guess. I don't know why she does it. She's found by Jacob, and then she proceeds to comically misinterpret his sarcastic mocking as helpful words of encouragement, and again, he delivers a very funny line about her poor predicament. Listen, give a shout if you think you're going to starve to death or something. Someone, other than me, will come along and rescue you. Now, you could make the argument that he's being kind of a prick and he should have helped them, but at the same time, they've both gotten to their problems of their own accord. Jacob's a butler with his own butler shit to do. He's not just gonna drop everything to help people with their problems when they're forced on him. However, he isn't all just a smug bastard. He does have moments where he genuinely helps people. Granted, when those are moments he wants to help them, not when they want him to help them. Let's dive into some more random supports and show how Jacob can actually be a really nice guy sometimes. In his support with Sakura, the young princess is going around healing an exuberant amount of people. A noble cause, but using all of that magic is starting to take a physical toll on her body. Jacob tries to get her to slow down by telling her that she can't heal everyone, and in trying to do so, she's just going to make herself too weak to be there when she's actually needed. At first, Sakura completely refuses his advice. She wants to heal as much as she can, because she feels guilty about being unable to do anything for people in pain. However, after some nagging from Jacob, she does accept his advice and calms down, and Jacob remarks that he will support her in her endeavors to help the people of the world, so long as it's in moderation. The entire support is Jacob just being genuinely thoughtful for Sakura's health. His normal snide demeanor is nowhere to be seen. In his support with Mozu, he finds the young village girl weeping over the loss of her friends and family. He encourages her to let it all out, because he knows that she cannot move on until she has let go of all of her pain. But as she continues to struggle to move on, he tries to offer her a new perspective. He remarks that he does not weep for the past, because there is not a single moment in his past that he remembers that fondly. He tells her that though she feels pain, she should be blessed that she has happy times to look upon fondly, and those memories can be her source of strength. And she takes those words to heart and starts vowing to grow stronger, still sad over the past, but no longer letting herself be weighed down by it. So for every moment that Jacob's being curt and blunt, there's another dozen moments where he's being genuinely helpful and kind. Also, while he doesn't have much in terms of story presence, he does take the spotlight in a paralogue, the one about his son, Dwyer. And before you say anything, yes, all of the parents in Fates are terrible parents for putting their children in a fucky-wucky alternate time dimension. It's kind of impossible to not think less of the entire cast for being neglectful parents. But apparently in the world of Fateslandia, throwing your child in a pocket dimension and just letting them grow into adults is considered the correct thing to do. So we're just gonna have to judge Jacob on how he interacts with Dwyer in the game and accept the weirdness of Fate's parents, alright? Okay, fair, but we're moving on anyway. In Dwyer's paralogue chapter, Jacob is on his way to the baby dimension to give Dwyer his favorite coffee beans. Already that's a cute image, but one that quickly turns sour when Jacob discovers that the manor Dwyer is staying at has been overrun by invaders. There's a nice little scene where, as Jacob is bitching and moaning about his son's laziness, he immediately turns to a panic scream when the invaders turn their sights towards his son. And, later on, when an invader is about to strike Jacob from behind, Dwyer insults the invader for daring to attack his father, showing that, despite the two's tendency to butt heads, there is a genuine love between father and son. Though I will admit, Jacob isn't exactly the best at showing his love. When the two meet up, Jacob immediately starts to chastise Dwyer for cowering behind his housekeepers and healing, rather than taking up the arms to defend them himself. Dwyer attempts to say that it's their job to watch over him, and he shouldn't rob them of their work, a sentiment that Jacob immediately clashes with and says Dwyer is just being lazy. Which, to be fair, that would not be an incorrect assumption, as doing as little as possible is Dwyer's eternal MO. Dwyer eventually convinces his father to allow him to accompany him in Corrin's army, though the conversation ends with the two still butting heads, this time over who's the better butler. The two's relationship is one of a never-ending clash of egos. Dwyer rubs in his father's face that he can brew a better cup of coffee than Jacob. Jacob rubs in Dwyer's face that he's the better fighter than him. But at the end of the day, the two do enjoy spending more time together, since they didn't do much of that when Dwyer was going up, thanks to the whole baby dimension thing. Sure, Jacob can occasionally be a little harsh on his son, but I wonder where Jacob could have learned such a strict parenting style from. I wonder what kind of authoritative figure in Jacob's life could have possibly had an impact on his parenting style. Wow, I just cannot think of who it could be. Anyways, that's about the end of the story for this one. Like a lot of Fire Emblem Fates characters, Jacob isn't exactly the most complex, but he has enough of a backstory and a distinct enough personality that I feel he's a really solid and memorable character. He's not exactly my favorite from the Fates trilogy, but I still feel like he gets overshadowed by Felicia way too much. Anyway, remember to like the video, comment on the video, subscribe to the channel, ring the bell for notifications, and make sure you erect a shrine for me in an indent in your wall. Until next time,